OK, Monty, give us a fact.
Christmas worm fact. There's a worm called a Christmas tree worm that lives on the surface of coral.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
It's 8:44 a.m. Crimble morning. Merry Christmas!
Happy Christmas, Rich.
Happy Christmas, Phil.
Now, I gather you're off fishing.
I am. I'm going fishing. I'm going fishing literally the second we finish this podcast.
Well, how did you wangle that, and why aren't wifely orders coming your way?
Well, it's an agreement we have. I do all my stuff that I've got to do the day before, and then I can go fishing on Christmas morning because there's no one else around. Christmas is great. You can go down the river and you won't see a single soul. I really like doing it. It gives me an appetite for Christmas lunch as well. Or Christmas mid-afternoon feast, really. What is that?
Well,
What's something between lunch and dinner? What is that?
What time do you have it?
Well, it'll probably be around kind of 4 o'clock-ish, I think. Yeah.
4 o'clock, that means you're putting the roasters on when the Queen is on.
Yeah. We had this discussion earlier on, didn't we? I've never seen the Queen's speech.
That's outrageous.
Speech.
We were made...
You are royalists, aren't you?
My husband and I would like to wish you all a very happy and prosperous Christmas and New Year. This year has been annus mirabilis.
Very good.
We do that. We sit down. You sit down with your tea and mince pies. 3 o'clock. Well, 2 minutes to. Everyone's saying, oh, the Queen, the Queen. And
You wake up Granny
and watch.
Give her a good kick.
The Queen every year.
Yeah.
On the BBC. I don't know.
Does the Queen sound
ITV.
like that? She's high-pitched.
Let me just practice again. Yes. She does.
Oh, excellent. Well, perhaps I'll try and make an effort to watch it this year. No, I don't think so, actually.
It's fantastic.
No, they're down with the monarchy. We don't.
That impression's a bit worrying.
Right, cut that out,
Rich?
Michael.
I know, Rich, that Heather has been receiving correspondence and instruction in her Southern American or Southern American states accent from somebody in the south of the US of A. And so one wonders that if the Queen listens to her impression of the Queen, is she going to correspond with her and put her right on that as well?
We're now going to listen to a message from Southern America. Bring it on.
Hey, Wiggly Wigglers. This is NCN from the No Credit Needed podcast. I live in America in Georgia, and I have a true Southern accent. So if you ever need any help with your Southern sayings, just give me a holler, and I'll help you out. I'll help y'all out. How about that? I really love what you guys do. It's awesome. I love the accent. I love the information. We live in a very rural area, and the soil down here is it's just wonderful for growing all kinds of things. And a lot of the folks here still have backyard gardens and family gardens and those kind of things. A lot of farming goes on here. And I'm just, whenever I just picture your place in my mind, and I don't know exactly how it looks, but I can just picture it, and I just know it's got to be a wonderful place. But you guys are doing an awesome job. Congrats on all the awards that you've received. They're well deserved, and I love the banter back and forth. I love when Heather somebody would say something really serious, and Heather would just come in and just boom with the joke. It's just awesome. It's really good. Well, y'all have a blessed day and a Merry Christmas and all that kind of good stuff, and a Happy New Year. Talk to you later. This is NCN. Bye-bye.
What do you think of that, Rich?
I thought that was superb.
Now, you are going to love this guy because he's NCN, right? And it's no credit needed. And I have been and listened to his podcast. It's not for me. I think just, bring it on, more stuff.
Yeah.
But it's for you. It's a podcast about being tight. I'm sending it to you. You will love it.
Right.
Forget frugal Phil. This is just tight to the extreme.
Right.
He talks about how to save 30p's and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. All important, Saving your pennies.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, right, excellent. I look forward to that.
No credit needed
Good stuff.
podcast.
Sounds like a great bloke, anyway.
See, I told you my southern sayings were on the mark.
Yeah.
Y'all?
Well, I don't think they are on the mark, are they? Which is why he was offering to, give you some sort of sense of direction with them.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got another American greeting, and this is from Andrew from, now is it geek.farm.life or life.farm.geek or farm.geek.life? Or...
Hi, Heather and gang. This is Andrew from the Geek Farm Life podcast. It's got the new voicemail smell in here, so I wanted to give you a call on the farm phone and help break it in. Well, it's nice that you've got a farm phone so we can get some comments from listeners and questions and so forth. I just wanted to correct you on our name. We're Geek Farm Life, and we're impossible to find in iTunes because we spell the name with periods in it. Well, anyways, I just wanted to wish you and your whole gang a Merry Christmas, and keep up the good work. I really enjoy the podcast.
Coming up on this week's show, we've got Monty's Worm Fact, and it's a Christmas worm fact this week. And we have what we're having for Christmas dinner, and we have Richard tell us about berries. But first, the cat row. Meow.
Yeah, someone's got their claws out, haven't they?
Absolutely, they have. But should I start with the poem?
You can do the poem.
Thank you to Rachel Broom, who we may recall set her cap at Richard a little bit and thought he was just a jolly job. Well, it's all changed now. Here we go. Alas, dear Wiggly Wigglers, I've had my heart broken in two. I'd had it set on Richard, so promptly sent an order to you. To my delight, a reply I received from a Richard, the very thing I'd desired. How my heart leapt as I read it that night from the one who had been so admired. But alas, woe is me, as since that day my affections have taken a plummet. Grey squirrel kebabs on a barbecue spit. Oh, Richard, you've now gone and done it. And not only that, but the following week he takes a pot shot at our moggies. How cruel of this oh-so-handsome chap.
Oh dear.
Despite the fact he keeps two of his own fierce doggies. Ricardo, will you ever redeem yourself? Eat humble pie without squirrel sauce, I hope. However, I fear you're now too set in your ways, and the answer to this would simply be nope. Now, Richard, I just wanted to let you know that the Tweety pies round here are simply prospering, and that has more to do with the fact I feed them each day and also provide nuts for the squirrels I'm fostering. Moggies, squirrels, birds and humans live happily side by side in this green suburban part of the conurbation. We suggest that you try this. It might do you some good. We say peace and love, man, to all of the nation. Yes, even Richard.
Very good. Fantastic. Yeah, well, Rachel's obviously, she sounds very, very, very sweet indeed. And she's
Get out of it. You've lost it.
Certainly articulate, and she's evidently got great taste. But,
Now, Rich, I think you've just got to move aside, mate. It's my go now.
I've definitely burned my bridges there. But it's
no, I think the thing was she saw, photos of you and mistakenly thought
appearances can be
that you weren't a murdering, cat-hating, squirrel beating up.
I should say that I don't. I know we have these great debates, and it might seem that I do sound slightly sanctimonious at times, but I don't hate cats, as you'll be able to appreciate. But I am a firm believer that there are inherent problems with cats in the English countryside and in England, actually.
Thank you, Richard. The next one. Okay, Richard has got me mad. 2 of my cats actually came from a farm. They had put them in a bag and they were going to drown them. Now, if we were talking cruel here, then the farmers doing that take the biscuit. Is there an animal in the world, including humans, who don't kill animals? Farmers kill birds, pheasants, grouse, etc. And actually, on previous podcasts, have been proud of doing it. So, why treat cats differently? For me, it is hypocritical from a farming man who works for an industry that raises animals to kill. I don't disagree with farming. I disagree with hypocrisy. You wound her up.
Yeah.
Furthermore,
I'd say.
Furthermore, cats are loving animals who provide great comfort to many people. They are often the only lifeline to older people, providing comfort and love to people who don't see their family from week to week. Richard needs to think about what he is saying and look at how many animals he has either killed, supported the killing of, seen being killed before he damns an animal that people love and receive a lot of love from. Heather, go girl, you have sense on your side. Make sure you fight our corner and show him up for the hypocrite that he is. Anna, a little bit aggressive,
Yeah,
isn't it? A bit,
calm aggressive.
down.
Yeah,
A bit worried about that
hostile,
sentence.
possibly.
That sentence in there, Heather, you have sense on your side. That'll be a first.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she doesn't know you that well, does she? But she made some interesting comments there. But it's remarkably ill-informed, actually. But one thing that she said about cats playing an important part in people's lives and people recovering from illness. So you mentioned this before, and it's that's very, very true. It's kind of key in many respects for people to have some kind of something to cling on to. If there's some way of making people feel better, and that way is to be able to have a nice furry animal, then that's absolutely fine. But the point is not to let it go outside and systematically kill everything around it. I don't really feel there's any point in reiterating what I've already said. But the point we were addressing originally was we had a correspondence from Simon, and he said his life was being made quite difficult by his neighbour's cats. And is there any way of being able to keep cats out of the garden? That's what started the whole thing off, wasn't it, really? So we were addressing
the climb
that.
down?
So,
Is this
absolutely not,
the climb
not
down?
at all.
Have you got
I'm trying
anything
to
on
put
your
everything
side?
into perspective.
Have you got
Okay.
any letters, any emails from anyone on your side?
I've had several responses,
Right.
but I've got a great response from Greg. He sounds like he's a really interesting bloke, and he knows what he's talking about, and I really appreciate his comments. And one thing he was quite concerned about is that he wants to assure you, and I guess other listeners, that he's not suggesting that people should be banned from keeping cats. What he said is, but all cat owners need to be aware of the destruction that these little killers can wreak, particularly in the high concentrations found in our towns and cities. I believe that dear old Noah has around 1,000 acres of fine Herefordshire countryside to roam over at Blakemere Farm. But in a city, developers would squeeze at least 40,000 homes into the same space. And if a third of the homeowners had just one cat, and that's being conservative, that's roughly 14,000 cats, or 14 cats per acre. Many owners may even feel that because they are out all day at work, their cherished little moggy may get lonely. So two is better than one. Oh, and it does make me feel a bit queasy when I read that. I would just ask for Heather to imagine an area the size of Blakemere Farm with in excess of 14,000 cats roaming over it. Is this filtering through, Phil?
Yeah, I can live with this. This makes sense.
And instead of natural hedges for shelter, miles of concrete posts and panels, the preferred choice of builders, because they take up less valuable space. At one time, experts told us that humans were not responsible for global warming, but now we know better. And I think it's unrealistic for anyone to imagine that having 14,000 cats on Blakemere Farm would have an impact on the surroundings, no matter what the RSPB experts say. Many people keep pet snakes, rats and even tarantulas, but if they were kept in the same numbers as cats, there would be an outcry. If one of those tarantulas got loose and killed a little kitten, cat owners would be petitioning their MPs to get all spiders banned. Presently, the amount of money spent on cat food by UK consumers is vastly more than we spend on organic vegetables as a nation. But if the same levels of monies were redirected into providing natural wholesome food for the poor and needy, then we could do a great deal to alleviate suffering. Instead, as usual, I am sure that Richard, I and many caring individuals like us will be castigated for our views on the need to rid society of what is these self-indulgent, indifferent, vicious little killers. Keep up the good work, Richard. Indeed I will. Cheers, Greg. Thanks for your thoughts. I think he's spot on, because he's obviously a guy that does care, and this is important. This is important for people to realise. So whilst we might have aggressive mail sent to us, and we need to address a balance, and if we can come up with ways, through this whole debate, if we can come up with ways of either reducing the populations of cats in urban areas or finding ways of keeping them out of certain areas, then wouldn't that be the ideal scenario?
I must say that I feel I've learnt so much. I had no idea of the numbers of cats within such a small area. It never crossed my tiny brain.
No, we don't, do we? We don't appreciate it living out here. I mean,
No.
we have the luxury of space and countryside around us.
The issue is humans rather than cats, because
It is,
there's so many people piled on top
Well,
of
cats
each other.
aren't. I mean, cats aren't here. They're not a native species. I mean, they are here as a consequence of human activity. So,
But listening to that letter, he brings up some really good points. I mean, the numbers per acre is a very significant point, but out of it comes thinking that it's about balance. So shut your cat in or something. I suspect that cat flaps are not a good thing, for the reason that the cat can go in and out at leisure, and so that not having those would be good. And it's just about balance and consideration for others, isn't it? So you feed the birds in such a way that the cat can't get on the bird table, and you feed your cat so it's not ravenously hungry, so it doesn't kill as much, and there's your balance.
There's one other point I would like to make, just not to go on to this, but so as not to miss this opportunity. He also mentions about cat food. I noticed there was an advert on TV last night, Sheba, whole chunks of tuna. So you can get these little steel canned portions of cat feed that are made from something, possibly yellowfin tuna, say, or big-eye tuna or something like that. Some of these species that are now as endangered as Siberian tigers, would you believe? And they're still being fished out because we don't know these things. And that's a fantastic life form that's being used and killed to feed cats.
So, a major change, a major difference that us as cat owners could make is, first of all, keep our cats in at night, and second, look at the food that we eat. If we do that, will you shut up about it? Merry Christmas, Moggies, from Heather.
So we've been listening to you two banging on about essentially balance and consideration for others. So the other day, I get into the Wiggly Skoda, a very fine piece of machinery, I might add.
Isn't it good?
And I notice under the windscreen wiper a scrap of paper. And so I look at the scrap of paper, and at the same time I recall that the last person who had the Wiggly Skoda was your good self, Ricardo.
Oh, right.
And I iron the piece of paper out in front of me, and it says on it, and I quote, in capitals, "Do not park in front of garage doors. Tar, Wally, garage owner." Now I'm thinking,
okay.
I don't know Wally, the garage owner, so that this is likely to be somebody who Ricardo has upset through his inconsiderate use of the Wiggly Skoda. And I just wondered what you got to say for yourself.
It's difficult to defend myself. I seem to have been caught red-handed. I think that's it's my inclination to park somewhere where I don't have to pay for parking. So sometimes it might seem inappropriate.
Would you like to apologise?
Didn't get clamped though. Didn't get a ticket.
Would you like to apologise?
I do apologise.
Wally.
Profusely to Wally. And I should never have parked there in the first instance.
And his pregnant wife did make it to the hospital just in time, having used the neighbour's car. Christmas dinner. Turkey or goose? Phil?
Turkey.
Richard?
Goosey gander.
What's goose taste like, is it? Everyone says it's greasy, don't they?
It's not greasy, no, it's very succulent. It's very succulent. It's got a stronger flavour than turkey, certainly. But it's like duck, similar to duck, a bit stronger.
Farmed goose?
Yeah, farm goose, yeah. I mean, wild goose is quite nice, Pinkfoot and Canada and whatnot. They're nice eating goose as well, but...
Somebody gave me a recipe yesterday for cooking wild goose, Canada goose, and they said you make a really nice sage and onion stuffing and loads of it, and stuff the bird, roast it really slowly for about 8 hours, and then take the stuffing out of it, chuck the bird away and eat the stuffing. It's great.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Phil, have you got the berries for the house?
Not yet.
What are you going to get?
I'm going to get holly. But it's a very interesting thing, holly. You can find loads of holly trees, and at this time of year, some of them will have no berries on at all because they've all been eaten, and some of them will be absolutely laden with berries. It's not the same tree every year. It's just every so often you find an odd tree that the birds don't touch, and obviously that's the one I'm aiming at for the Christmas decorations. But I don't know why it is.
There's a few different schools of thought, aren't there, with the flavour of the berries, and no one really knows the answers, I don't think. But it does, certainly the densities of berries do fluctuate. Not so much on your hedges. They seem to be fairly consistent in many respects. But that's
peace and goodwill to you as well, Rich.
You can't leave it, can you?
I can't, no, not at all.
That's
not
it.
at all. I've got some...
And then, of course, there's the mistletoe, Rich, which you can get hold of a bit of that, and then you can go chasing some of those rotund women with it and see how well you get on with them.
Absolutely. I'm going to bring a big, hefty bunch in tomorrow and strap it over one of those beams in our office. Give everybody a nice big snog.
No. Sorry, Sarah. He doesn't mean it.
No.
There's only one for him, and that's definitely you.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier on, didn't I, about some friends of ours that are going to start. They're going to harvest mistletoe berries and start selling them in little sachets to people that can kind of impregnate their trees with mistletoe.
Will that work?
I think it will work. I think it will work very well because mistletoe spreads, after all, by birds defecating on trees and whatnot, and the seeds getting trapped in amongst the bark. So yeah, I think it'll probably work quite well. I don't see any reason. And Rachel's done it actually. Rachel's done something similar with her trees. So yeah, be quite a neat idea. Another Wiggly product, perhaps.
Thrushes like mistletoe berries, don't they?
They do, yeah. Pretty much all the birds in the thrush family stuff their faces on mistletoe berries. Yeah.
Isn't it right, Rich, that you shouldn't pick the whole clump of mistletoe? You only pick part of it.
Yeah, that's what they reckon. But I think in lots of instances now, some of our trees, certainly in Herefordshire, are so inundated with mistletoe that you could literally cut off the whole clump and...
Biggest trouble is avoiding breaking your neck getting to it, Rich, so we better not send you, would we?
No, not there's any ladder work involved. No, definitely not. Yeah, no, fantastic. Well, all those things, of course, they were so available, weren't they, years ago? And people didn't have the luxury of being able to go to Woolworths and buying a pack of silvery stuff for a couple of quid. But in many respects now, it's so much nicer to go out and you know, it's like a really nice family thing to do is go out and cut your twigs and your mistletoe and your holly sprigs and all that kind of stuff and bring them home and set them up. Not do it too early either, because you tend to find that if you bring your holly and your mistletoe in the house too soon, because most people have central heating now, all the berries kind of shrivel up, don't they, quite early on. So I'd probably do it as late as you possibly can.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve is a great time to do it, isn't it? Yeah. And all these things, of course, and they're so important to all the creatures that we have living around us as well. You know, mistletoe berries, like Phil said, you know, really important for many species in the thrush family, a lot of the migrating birds that come over here. Many of these things, you know, ivy and cotton Easter, that I call it, is
How'd you say it?
cotton Easter.
Catoniaster.
These are really, I mean, fantastic things to have growing in the garden. They're one of my favourite plants. You know, they're multi-providers. So not only do they give us the chance to go out and pick a few sprigs and whatnot to put in our homes for around Christmas time, but they're ivies, berries. Birds love ivy berries. You know, you can see all sorts of birds stuffing their faces, particularly things like wood pigeons and whatnot, throughout the winter. And it's one of those things that really does help sustain those populations of birds. Catoniaster are, again, a lovely looking plant, because you get two different types. You get the deciduous ones and you get the evergreen ones. And the deciduous ones, I know I've got at home, and they've got this really distinct vibrant red of the foliage in the autumn, and then you've got the beautiful red berries, and they hold the berries for quite a long time, but there are multitudes of berries in a relatively small space. And I know species like robins eat them, because I've watched robins stuffing their faces with these little berries. But in the spring, as the foliage starts to come back, you get the tiny little flowers, very delicate little flowers, probably about 5 mil in diameter. And what I've seen a lot of are queen wasps and queen bumblebees feasting on the nectar that they provide, because they're a relatively early source of nectar and pollen, and then, you know, using that to start up their colonies. So you've got a kind of multifaceted plant. It's not only does it look great, but it's really good at supporting many different forms of life. And what Michael's just told us, a really amazing thing, in actual fact, is they've got quite dense branches. And what's happened in Michael's situation is a lot of the foliage from his trees fell down, all the leaves and whatnot, and gathered. They were kind of trapped in amongst these tight-knit branches of his cotton Easter. And the hedgehogs...
Catoniaster.
And the hedgehogs hibernated in there. So we had a hedgehog hibernating in his... So, again, you know, what a fantastic plant to have.
Rather like the KitchenAid of plants, then.
KitchenAid of plants, yeah, absolutely, yeah, very
One
good.
mixer and it does everything. We're going wassailing, so listeners, you must join in with us, because wassailing, well, you'll have to tell them what it is.
I'm not sure what it is.
Okay.
I tell you, many years ago, well, several years ago now, I did a project where we kind of rebuilt this a big apple press in an area of deprivation, not a million miles away from here. It was a great project because we involved a couple of the local schools as well, and we did look at wassailing as part of the project. So the kids did a bit of a little bit of an essay on what they thought wassailing was all about. But it's a bit of a peculiar thing, isn't it?
Well, it actually is all about trying to get fruit trees to fruit, so apple trees to provide fruit for cider. And so the idea is that you celebrate last year's harvest of cider, so you have a good old drink, and you go and whack the trees and do some bits and bobs, and the key thing is to do it on the right day. Now there's 3 days you can do it on. It's usually on the eve of 12th night, which is January the 6th, or it's on the eve of Old Christmas Eve in the Julian calendar, which is January the 5th, or the night that we're going on is Old 12th night, so it's the 17th of January. And we will be going to the orchard with a whole bowl of cider with cake and toast in it.
Sounds
and we're going
like
to
my
hang
sort
this,
of do, Rich.
We're going to hang
Just
this
the
from the
job.
branches to attract birds such as robins.
That's right.
So the idea is, isn't it, that the
Yeah.
robins come to the trees,
Yep.
and then we're going to have a large bonfire, and then we're going to the pub. So
Sounds like a great night. Yeah,
we're all
yeah.
going on the
There's some
17th.
shooting involved as well. Some shooting and some flailing of trees and all this kind of stuff. And
There's
have to
definitely
beat the living daylights out of some trunks and things like that.
shotguns fired, buckets and pans beaten, and we're going to ward off evil spirits from the sleeping trees.
Does it have any relation to the fact that apple trees, in terms of the crop they produce, have an on year and an off year, so that an apple tree will have a good crop one year and the next year it won't, and that they're all like that? And
Well, we'll find out.
No idea.
But we're
Yeah.
definitely going to
see.
dislodge harmful insects which the birds eat. So that's the practical thing. We whack the tree, the insects come out and the birds eat them.
Great.
Woo!
all the ladybirds and lacewings and anything else that's taken refuge in the tree.
We will see. That's on the 17th of January, and you, listener, will be with us in my pocket.
So, Rich, happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas, Phil.
Happy fishing.
Cheers.
And I think now we've got, notwithstanding the limitations of their skills, we were going to have 2 pianos, but they're not in tune with each other. So we've got Monty and Heather. I think they're playing 4-handed on 1 piano, so that should be interesting, eh?
Yeah, go for it, guys. Very good. That's great. That'll be really nice on the end of the podcast.